Greetings, Inquisitors. Welcome to the holocron. This is the week 111 update for the Darth Loquitur account. I update this account's progress every week, go through all of the character upgrades, ship upgrades, talk about plans for the future, what I'm doing with gear, and you can follow along. Leave your comments down below if you have any thoughts or ideas about what I'm talking about. Always happy to hear everybody's comments. And with that, let's get into it and see what happened in the account this week for progress. Actually, it's going to be kind of a short update in that regard. We farmed up a bunch more carbantis. The gear change hit, so this is the first week with the double drops on gear. So I was pretty excited to get in here and see all the things that I could do. We had 300 and some carbantis to work with, and I started in here on my CLS team, and I'm immediately met with a lack of stun guns. So I've still got 250 carbantis left to go, and he's held up on the Mark V stun gun part instead of the carbanti part. So I go in here and I take a look at L3, and I do want to upgrade her for the dash team, but maybe not right now. And let's go take a look. Well, Kyle Katarn also held up by stun guns. We're going to be able to promote Kira to 7 stars. That's nice. Some things she's being locked out of for not being 7 stars, like the Smuggler's Run stuff we can get her into now. So also upgrade Mara Jade here to the 5th star. Got some free shards with the event, so that's nice for her and Kyle. Then I go in here into 50 RT to take a look, and here we're held up on Mark IV comlinks. So not many characters still showing green pluses. Savage is one of them, so we take a look at Savage's gear, and we go ahead and upgrade him, and then he's held up on the Mark IV comlink and also the Mark V detonators. So even though we've got carbantis to spare, the characters that we want to level up are held up on other things. So we're going to take a look at this Sith Empire Trooper. We would love to get him built up eventually someday to go with C, but now he's held up on a stun gun too. And we take a quick look through here, and I fast forwarded a bunch of stuff, but there's like 5 minutes of me figuring out that every single thing that I want to do in the game right now is gated behind a Mark V stun gun. So we've caught up on carbantis. We have actually got enough carbantis that we're ahead. Now we're behind on stun guns. So we take a look at Luke. We can lock in another piece of left side. And I typically don't lock down on something that's not my current relic project, but we're going to go ahead and do that. I take a look at Biston's U-Wing, and guess what? The progress on the Pathfinder is also held up by a stun gun. It's just going to be the trend for everything for this week. So then we did say we wanted to upgrade this Zeta on the Dark Trooper so that he can gain back stacks. Sometimes in Conquest or in Grand Arena there's a sequence of events where I get some of my stacks stripped off, and I'd really like to be able to get them back. So went ahead and put the Zeta on there, but that's it. That's all we get for week 111. And it's really all based on those missing stun guns. So in week 111, we've gone up to 5.33 million. We only went from 5.32 to 5.33. 10,000 galactic power of progress. That's the lowest progress I've clocked in as long as I can remember. 54 relics. We added 1 Zeta, so 71 Zetas. JMK still getting us the top 10. Executor still getting us the top 5 in fleet when we could play. Dash for next week, still on track for that. So my energy for next week, we're going to do Scion, 50 RT, Skiff, Lando, Boosh, and Holdo. And I'll explain some of that stuff here in a minute. The Skiff, Lando, and the Leia are obviously going to be just things that I'm going to start collecting now in case I do want to build that Jabba the Hutt GL. So we're going to start collecting them to help make our decision easier. Otherwise, if I don't start now, then the decision is always going to be JML. but I want to, empower myself to be able to make that job a decision, if that makes sense, based on what we see here in the next few weeks. In Fleet, we're going to do Raven's Claw, Fortress, and Scimitar. Cantina, Signal Data. Mod, we're continue to work on speed and other stuff, maybe some potency. Refresh strategy is the same. We're going to try to get 3 refreshes on everything every day. In the Squad Arena store, we're going to switch over and we're going to stop focusing as much on carbantis as we have in the past. Maybe even stop buying carbantis out of there entirely. And we're going to focus more on stun cuffs and stun guns and some of the other bits of gear that we find ourselves getting behind on now that we took a little bit of time to catch up on carbantis. Fleet store, really focusing on Zetas there for right now and kind of banking up the currency. I'll use it for Shard Shop currency when needed, but I've bought almost everything out of the Shard Shop on the Loquitur account. I think there's like one Resistance X-Wing that I still am working on, but other than that, I think I own everything to max that I can buy with Fleet store currency. So I'll continue to buy Zetas and convert that currency to Shard Shop. Okay, so with the gear change in place, I thought this first week of the gear change was going to be exciting and I was going to get to click a lot of buttons, but I ran out of those stun guns really fast, and I guess I should have expected it, but it did kind of sneak up on me, and I was stunned by it. Stunned by the lack of stun guns. 10K in progress is the least 1 week progress in a long time. So what happened? Basically, it's this. I engaged in an experiment to try to catch up on carbantis. And I started farming some hard nodes and doing some extra carbanti scavenging. And that's been going on for about 6 weeks now, maybe 5 weeks, I guess. And during that time, I really did get quite a lot of carbantis. And I didn't pay attention to how many of those clicks on characters that needed carbantis also needed stun guns. When you look at a character like Kenobi, he needs, let's say, 4 carbantis for that one particular level that's horrible with General Kenobi. And you kind of lose track of the fact that a lot of those carbantis are in stun gun development and stuff like that. So I've used up all my stun guns, my Mark V stun guns, and I didn't really pay much attention to that. So now everything that I wanted, of course, is gated behind that pair with carbantis and then stun guns not available. I have heard people say that they've converted stun guns in the scavenger once they started showing up in the daily events. And on any account, on my main account, Loquitur account, Optisio account, I must say I have never caught up enough on those Mark V stun guns where I felt comfortable converting them to relic materials. So really, this stun gun deficit isn't because, let's say, I accidentally chewed a bunch of them up over in the scavenger or something like that. It really is that I used them all up. So it's kind of interesting. So if we summarize the carbanti experiment, it basically comes down to this. I farmed extra carbantis, and I wanted to catch up and try to get more Gear 12 characters. And in that sense, it was a success. Carbanti was not the limiting factor in my development this week, and that's the first time that's been the case in probably about 6 months, where it hasn't, pretty much been gated on carbantis. So it's nice, but obviously just farming carbantis is not the long-term strategy. So I farmed them, and now it's time to get back to farming the whole spectrum of gear. And I suspect that it's really down to, everything that we've already talked about and that I've said in my gear videos and all that stuff. So I'll work on the current bottleneck, which is the stun guns. And I'll do that by focusing hard nodes. I like to farm the hard nodes because to me, getting those extra character shards and also feeding the shard shop at the same time, even though you might get less of the thing that you're looking for, typically off of those nodes you get more of other things and credits and things that we want. So Holdo from regular energy has those stun guns and also has Mark V detonators, and that's another piece that we're going to need a lot of. The scimitar is a way to convert fleet energy. There's no like regular fleet node that has that. Since I've only got a couple fleet nodes and they're not things that I'm actively working on, I'm almost done farming the fortress anyway. So we'll cycle in the scimitar over there, and that'll give us a node where we're actively farming those stun guns. So again, like the Carbanti experiment, if we do that for a few weeks and it starts to break the bottleneck on Mark V stun guns, then we'll chase it wherever it goes next and keep spot farming whatever we need for the most characters. So in the shops, I have started focusing the 3 bottleneck parts. For the longest time, before they introduced the added gear to the daily stuff, Carbanti's stun cuffs and stun guns were all 3 monsters, and probably stun guns more than anything. Seemed like you were always farming those stun guns. So those 3 will have to get back to farming. Also, Mark V detonators, Mark 8 bio, Mark 4 comlinks, those are always bottleneck gear, so I'm looking for those. And then basically in the guild shop, when I see parts that I have less than 100 of, like the Mark 9 bio, Mark 6 droid collar, Mark 4 back to gels, those kind of parts that I know I'm going to use on 1 or 2 characters at some point, I'm going to try to build an inventory of at least 100 of them in stock, and then every time I'm under 100 to buy those parts and kind of focus my gear farming that way. And then if I have 3 characters that need a Mark 6 droid collar on one particular week, I'll get 2 of them. It'll reduce the inventory to 0. I'll work it back up to 100, and that'll kind of be the drill. All right. In the shard shop, this second square here, I see carbantis in this square every time. And it may be that I just get some weird statistics and it's just always carbantis. Or it could be that they've converted this to a node where you just always get carbantis out of this node. I'm used to kind of scrolling down in the shard shop and skipping those that top row, because that didn't used to be where I bought gear from. But you tell me what you guys see on this node. I don't know if it's a permanent carbanti node or if it's just another node where they're sticking, let's say, the rare gear, the bottleneck gear. But that second slot right next to Grievous, that has become a premium place to look for, and pretty much I'm buying carbantis out of there almost every time the shard shop refreshes. So if I can make, let's say, reasonably 2 or 3 of those purchases every day out of the shard shop, then I don't need to look for them anymore out of the guild store. I'll be able to keep up with them here. Probably don't even need to farm them anymore. Imagine 20 purchases a week that are available to you if they have the shard shop currency. That's 200 carbantis a week. You don't need any other source for carbantis. If that's the case, if that's the case. I haven't been watching this closely enough to know if it's always carbantis or maybe I'm just getting weird luck. So, leave it in the comments below what you guys have seen. But it looks like that spot's going to solve a sore spot for us. And then we can use our farming to, like I said, go after whatever is the bottleneck for the week. So for me, for next week, it's going to be stun guns. We're going to farm that and see how caught up we can get. This does create a problem, though, for people with the development of the new territory battle. There is definitely going to be a need to bring characters to higher relics, or so it looks, with some relic 9s looking like they're going to be required for this stuff. So being able to build these characters to gear 12 in the background, even with the double drops on gear, is going to be possible for a lot of the mid-game players. But for those players who are playing in high-level guilds, or for people planning to do the new territory battle, I don't think that'll be the focus anymore. I do think that even though the gear drops have doubled, the focus may be pulled away from that. And there's been a little discussion of that over on my Discord, that that the farming strategy for a lot of the high-end players is going to be completely focused on the higher relic levels, on gear, relic 8 and relic 9 gear, like the bayonets and things that you can convert to impulse detectors, the things that you need for the keypads. And those are relic materials, and basically, in my experience, it will significantly slow down your ability to relic new characters if you're trying to get the ones you have to relic 8 and relic 9. So it'll become a choice between widening your roster. It's, let's say, a traditional conundrum that you have. Do you take what you have and build it to a higher level, or do you continue to expand out and build new characters? So I think for most of us in the mid game, continuing to broaden the roster is going to be better. Building another galactic legend is going to more often serve you better than making 2 relic 9 teams, for example. So I think for a lot of us, the broadening of the roster will continue. I think for some people, there will be a change in the farming to just to focus on higher relic levels. But for those of us who are continuing to broaden the roster, I think it's interesting that we'll get back to this idea of spot farming. And if they've provided us ready access to carbantis through the shard shop, then that's going to really free up, let's say, a way for us to either focus on relicking characters with those shard shop currency, or broadening the roster, or potentially doing both. So let me know what you guys think of this. I'm always happy to hear your comments. Hope to talk to you soon. Hit that like button on the way out if you didn't hit it on the way in. Use your like saber. Get that thing out of here. It's fun and rewarding. It helps me. It helps the channel. I'd appreciate it if you do it. Subscribe if you want to watch more like this in the future. And, of course, join us over on Discord. We have a fantastic Discord community. Can't brag about it enough. Come over there, check it out. Even if you're not a talkative person, you can just hang out and see what other people are saying. Hope to see you over there. Thank you all for watching, and I will see you in the next holocron.